There's something missing from popular science fiction movies these days, and it truly deeply saddens me that it's not there. Take a look at the highest grossing franchises, your Avatars, your Star Warses, your Jurassic Worlds. What do they all have in common? They're big, bloated blockbuster movies that are so packed with information for your brain to process, it's like eating a 7-course meal through your eyes. Tip included. And while these sorts of movies are a great time, the calories are, more often than not, on the emptier side, because scale comes with sacrifice. The bigger they are, the harder it is to focus on the finer details. But the very first installment in the Terminator franchise is special, because it made an indisputable dent in pop culture back in 1984. It even launched legendary director James Cameron's career, while doing the exact opposite of so many other massively popular sci-fi movie series and films. It's small. In this video, I want to explore why that's great. The Terminator offers an opportunity to see what's being lost, how a whole different dimension of storytelling is being missed out on if all the attention is only ever geared toward large-scale sci-fi epics. If the 6'2", 7-time winner of the Mr. Olympia bodybuilding competition, Arnold Schwarzenegger, can remind us of anything, it should be this: being tiny is mighty.
Nobody goes home. Nobody else comes through. It's just him and me.
One of the great things about this movie is how tight it keeps its cast. In fact, it's one of the greatest advantages it has as a story. It's just Kyle Reese, the good guy, positioned opposite the best advertising for gargoyle and sea sunglasses you could ever hope for: the Terminator. Its target is the mother of the future leader of the human resistance against the machines, Sarah Connor. That's the whole conflict right there, as neat and compact as the 1984 Honda Elite scooter she drives to work. The movie's other iconic machine, so far as I'm concerned. It's not like an Avengers-level team-up featuring 6 main characters with 6 intersecting franchises all integral to the main plot. It's not a Star Wars trilogy where the good guys are battling an army of troopers whose armor is so searing white it'll give you snow blindness on a desert planet. It's just 3 people, one good, one bad, one caught in between, and this comes with a multitude of great things. For one, having the cast so tight makes it significantly easier to get invested in them, because it makes it so everyone can have an ample amount of screen time. Nothing feels rushed. We're able to watch the Terminator arrive through time and calmly survey the Los Angeles skyline. We're able to notice the difference when Kyle Reese follows after him, writhing in agony as he struggles to get his bearings. When Sarah Connor shows up, we're able to get a glimpse of her life, her work, her home, her creeping realization that someone's trying to kill her when she keeps spotting murder victims sharing her name on the news. So the movie can take its time setting things up, and this extra time enables the audience to learn ample amounts about who these characters are. It also gives them a chance to identify with them, because all 3 are essentially koi fish that have been kicked out of their pond and heaved up onto a boardwalk in a gasping, flopping mess. Kyle and the Terminator are from 2029, where the world in its entirety has been reduced to ashes and skulls waiting to be stepped on like an open roll of U-Haul bubble wrap. To them, 1984 is practically a different planet altogether, filled with bizarre things like nightclub payphones and mullets. Similarly, Sarah Connor gets her own life upended when the Terminator comes after her, killing everyone she personally loves, as she's got to come to quickly accept the existence of these shards from the future that have fallen through time just to cut her life up. It's a fish out of water story from every angle, because they're all being thrust into unfamiliar worlds, just like the viewers watching this movie. They can project themselves onto the on-screen characters, empathizing with their struggles, because again, there's only 3 of them. Another advantage of only having 3 core cast members is that it's easier to make them seem distinct from one another. You've got the Terminator, the vicious T-800 model, your stoic bad boy type who enjoys sweet leather jackets, hot rod motorcycles, and brisk early morning walks in the nude. Then you've got Kyle Reese, your tall, dark, and handsome hero type with a tragic past and a heart of gold. He doesn't appreciate brisk early morning walks in the nude as much as his antagonist does, so he's perfectly happy to cover up with some good old-fashioned Nike product placements. Finally, you've got Sarah Connor, your attractive, helpless, blonde, damsel in distress type. type, who can't help but fall in love with the mysterious man who whisks her away in a stolen 1977 Cadillac Eldorado, and who of course delivers the crucial blow to the T-800 she's unwillingly reenacting an episode of Tom and Jerry with. There's really no overlap between them. In fact, it wouldn't be a stretch to say that they're opposites. The Terminators and Kyle Reese's cold, hard, rugged exteriors are on the complete opposite end of the spectrum to Sarah Connor's innocent, shamelessly terrified persona, which makes them all the more striking. Their interactions are like yin versus yang, night versus day, Miley Cyrus versus Selena Gomez. My wish is that more big-budget science fiction movies were like this because it encourages a focus on the personality, demeanor, and emotional state of the story's characters. When you start adding more people, it becomes more difficult to do this because their points along the human emotional spectrum are a lot closer together. It's why superhero movies have to lean into power gimmicks. If everyone didn't have their own original unique ability, they'd all look like cheap Walmart rip-off brands of each other. But the small number of core characters in the cast isn't just what helps The Terminator be a great movie in ways other sci-fi blockbusters are lacking. It's also what's encouraged by its small scope: brutality. The bigger a movie is, the grander its action sequences usually get, and this comes at a price. Let's make a quick comparison with something like Avengers Endgame. You can do this with really any other sci-fi box office juggernaut. I'm just picking Endgame because it's the only movie keeping director James Cameron from occupying the top 3 slots of the highest grossing movies of all time, so I think you'd appreciate me picking on it a little bit. Endgame is a sprawling narrative filled with dozens of characters, 38 to be exact, who all assemble at the film's end to battle against the great overarching villain of the saga, Thanos. And there's so much action, so many CGI creatures and heroes that it's basically a straight up animated movie at that point. And while it's fun to watch, in my opinion it's so over the top, so disconnected from reality that it almost has a numbing effect to it. How many people the size of the Chrysler Building have you seen punch a giant alien tapeworm in the right side of their jaw? I'm gonna go out on a limb here and guess it's about as many fans you've met of the show Becker starring Ted Danson. So even though you see Ant-Man throw that punch and you see that giant armored caterpillar thing recoil, it doesn't really feel like there's any force behind it. There's just a swing, the gravity-defying slug takes the hit, and then it's time to move on. That's it. It's just there to look pretty. Nothing turns your stomach into a knot or makes your toes curl because it's basically just a giant CGI pillow fight. But the Terminator, because it's only really focusing on a cat and mouse chase between a few people, encourages a different kind of approach to its action sequences. Without sheer spectacle to keep audiences engaged, the Terminator only has one choice to keep its action sequences interesting. It has to lean into the brutality of it. And you do that by intensifying its consequences. When the T-800 meets the 3 thugs in LA after time traveling from a far-off futuristic year, the fight's over in like 2 seconds, because it literally thrusts its hand into one of their chest cavities and tears out their still beating heart. It's shocking, it's gory, it lets you know right off the bat what type of movie this is gonna be. Another example that comes to mind is when the T-800 finally discovers Sarah Connor's home, only to find her unwitting roommate, who unfortunately never quite gets to eat the sandwich that she made. It's one of the most intense sequences of the entire movie. Her crawling away in terror, the T-800 towering over her, finishing a fight it's already won. That's of course after it took out her boyfriend, which it slung through drywall like a pole through a poti piñata, shattering mirrors, nightstands, and tearing apart silk pillowcases in the process. This ain't a pillow fight. My personal favorite scene is the rather infamous one where the T-800 treats the LAPD's lobby like its own personal parking garage. Doors fly off their hinges, glass shatters, the guy behind the front desk becomes an unwitting crash dummy. It's great stuff. And nothing helps sell these action sequences as tough, gritty, intense moments of drama than the fact they're using practical visual effects you can easily focus on during them. It's a blessing in disguise this film was made before grand, insanely complex CGI slosh fests could be as common as they are today. Even the grander scenes, like Kyle Reese's brief flashbacks to the human machine war in 2029, use physical props to emulate skulls, twisted wreckage. Even the Skynet robots shooting the place up appear to be actual machinery that was specifically designed for the scene. The physicality of everything makes the disconnect between it and 1984 feel less apparent, because both eras seem just as real. And even in those high concept moments, the Terminator still manages to keep things being small. For one, the flashbacks are brief. There's only like 2 of them. But also, while the ideas behind them are big, the whole notion that humanity is essentially on the verge of extinction is a pretty tough pill to swallow. The scenes themselves aren't, because they don't feature the whole of humanity as we know it today fighting for life, but it's scattered remnants ducking through the ruins, hiding in terror, pushed to the brink of their ability to survive by just 1 or 2 robots at a time. That's 10 times easier to wrap your head around than 3 dozen main characters and a purple Jeff Bezos fighting over a magic glove. But of all the advantages the Terminator's smallness affords it, the final one I want to talk about is probably its most important of all, and likely the reason it was so successful in the first place. It's easy. The Terminator doesn't ask much of you. It doesn't require you to know any complex science. It doesn't have vast amounts of lore for you to know about. It doesn't even require you to be a fan of the genre to really get invested in it. It's not like Jurassic Park where you've got to exercise at least a little brain power to understand the nuts and bolts of how dinosaurs were brought back from the dead, or Star Wars that is simply a spacefaring civilization that bears little to no resemblance to the world as we know it today. The Force, Jedi, lightsabers, it's got enough unique vocabulary around it that to someone completely unfamiliar with the franchise, it sounds like you're speaking a different language. And that's soft science fiction, the type that prioritizes characters and plots over the actual science powering the technology around them. The Millennium Falcon can zip off at light speed with no real explanation as to how. But in Star Trek, there's warp drive that uses a matter-antimatter reaction system to produce incredible amounts of energy that folds space-time itself to make it so starships can travel faster than light. It's not the sort of thing someone outside of the genre would be able to connect with right out of the gates. They'd need some Google searches and a couple of TED Talks to get started, and even that's a certain amount of effort not everyone's going to want to put in. That's why you can interpret it as an advantage that the Terminator is small in terms of narrative complexity, because it makes it accessible. You could have not seen a sci-fi movie in your entire life, watch the Terminator, and still have a great time with it, because the core of what the movie diverts its focus on is survival, the most basic struggle that literally every living thing can relate to. The terror of being hunted, the drive to live, the rush of adrenaline at staying out of harm's way. That's the great brilliance of the movie, that even though it's dressed up in cybernetic robots, time travel, and temporal warfare, at its heart is a primitiveness, a simple matter of life and death. That's it. Another way the Terminator is small in terms of narrative is that it's really just trying to tell a short-sighted story. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, by design, the Terminator is written in such a way that it's not trying to actively spin off installments. The T-800 gets squeezed orange juice style, Kyle Reese gets lucky with the mother of the man who sends him back in time in the first place, so they each can exist. And everyone the T-800 interacts with, from the guy who gives them the guns, to all the members of the LAPD who learn about what's going on from Reese, they all get killed. It's wrapped up with a nice big bloody red bow. The first Terminator isn't trying to put all those little hints and nods to future sequels or an expanded universe. It's just a nice little chase movie, which is rare in the realm of popular sci-fi movies. Take Iron Man, the first movie in the MCU before it even was the MCU, which there are 34 films in as of this recording. It was already teasing future team-up movies like Avengers with its end credits scene before it even knew it was going to be a success. Even the very first Star Wars movie was just one act of a larger plot George Lucas had already outlined and was eager to develop if that first movie made a lot of money. James Cameron is a bit guilty of this too with his Avatar franchise. After the first was a hit, he immediately went into planning 4 additional sequels that he'd spend the next 20 years of his life working on. But for an hour and 47 minutes, The Terminator is just trying to be a great little film, to keep you on the edge of your seat and entertained until the credits start to roll through the magic of heart-thumping action sequences and shameless male nudity. Now, after saying all of that, I do have to acknowledge what's most probably definitely on your mind. The fact that there is a Terminator franchise consisting of multiple movies spinning off from the first one, 5 to be exact. But here's the thing, James Cameron didn't want them. Hollywood did. To him, the first Terminator was a complete story, and while he returned for Terminator 2, it was only due to popular demand, and he intended for it to be the last. Money brought Terminator Rise of the Machines, Salvation, Genesis, and Dark Fate into existence, not him. They're artificial extensions of a narrative that was designed to end sooner than the executives would allow it. And even though the Terminator ultimately failed for its narrative to extend over just a movie or two, I still wish there were more like it. It's it's exhausting to watch a film bogged down by hints and Easter eggs for projects that aren't set to come out for years down the line. It's like getting assigned homework. You have to remember this guy because he's this guy in the comics, and they're using him to set up this other guy whose movie isn't supposed to come out for another 2 years. It's like a memorization exercise. And because you're the one buying the ticket, it's like you're paying them to assign it to you. In my opinion, it also encourages punch pulling, because everything's got to take place over multiple films until you get to the last movie in the trilogy or saga the studio's been setting up for 5 to 10 years. You just know they can't go all out. In The Terminator, 2 of the 3 main characters die. They're not getting saved for sequels. And I like that because there's a greater sense of peril and suspense when you know the consequences are real. So just like the lone T-800 that got crushed to death, The Terminator can almost be described as a somewhat dead type of movie. But funnily enough, it's that same crushed exoskeleton that gets discovered and reverse engineered in the movie's sequel, thus creating the siege for which Skynet and the Terminators themselves can be born from. Maybe we can do that with this movie. Rediscover what we've lost.
I'll be back.
I sure hope so, Arnold. I sure hope so.